Hey everyone, today we're talking about anxiety, but we're going to go deeper than just talking about it as a feeling. We're going to pop the hood, so to speak, and look at what's actually happening inside the brain when that feeling takes over.
I mean, it's a question so many of us have asked, right? Why does it feel so all-consuming? You know that feeling where your mind gets completely hijacked by worry, your body is on red alert, but the logical part of your brain just can't seem to get a word in. So why does that happen?
Well, to really get it, we can think of it as a story. It's a story about a faulty alarm system and a really slow response team. See, in your brain, the alarm is incredibly sensitive, but the crew that's supposed to check things out is slow to arrive. That disconnect is the whole key.
Okay, so let's start with the alarm itself. This is the part of your brain that is always on duty, constantly scanning for danger, and it is ready to sound the siren at the slightest little thing.
Its official name is the amygdala. Now, this is a tiny, almond-shaped part deep inside your brain, and its main job is to be our emotional threat detector. It's primitive, it's super fast, and it is built for one thing: survival.
And here's where things get interesting. In an anxious brain, research shows the amygdala's activity is basically cranked up to 11. It becomes hypersensitive, and it starts treating even small potential problems like they're massive threats. It's almost like it gets stuck in the on position, just constantly blaring that danger signal.
And listen, this isn't just a nice theory. We can actually see this in brain scans. Study after study finds this same pattern. As this research points out, this overactivity is a hallmark, a signature move of the anxious brain. It gives us a clear biological marker for what people are experiencing.
So if the amygdala is the alarm that's screaming fire, who's supposed to answer the call? Well, that brings us to the second key player in our story, the brain's calm and rational firefighter.
This is your prefrontal cortex, or the PFC. It's that highly evolved, logical part of your brain right behind your forehead. Think of it as the command center. It handles all the big picture stuff, planning, problem solving, and for our purposes, the really crucial job of emotional regulation.
So, when the amygdala's alarm goes off, the PFC is supposed to step in like a seasoned professional. It assesses the situation and asks, okay, hold on, is this a real fire or did somebody just burn the toast again? And then it's supposed to send the all-clear signal to the amygdala to get it to calm down.
Okay, so we've got our two players: the super-sensitive alarm and the rational firefighter. The entire story of what anxiety feels like really just comes down to the communication breakdown between these two.
And this right here is the central problem. In anxiety, it's a total double whammy. The amygdala, the alarm, is hyperactive. It's just screaming. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the firefighter, is underactive. It's not doing its job effectively. The entire system is completely out of balance.
To put it simply, this is what it feels like, isn't it? The emotional, panicked alarm is absolutely deafening, while that calm, logical voice of reason that's supposed to manage it all, it's just a faint whisper, totally unable to cut through the noise.
Now, this imbalance has real-world consequences. It leads to what they call impaired emotional regulation. That's the feeling of being totally overwhelmed. It's what fuels that endless, uncontrollable worry, because the PFC isn't stepping in to say, hey, that's probably not going to happen. And on a brain wiring level, it means there's a really weak connection, like a bad phone line, between the alarm and the command center.
So you have to wonder, what keeps this faulty circuit going? What is constantly setting off that hypersensitive alarm in the first place? Well, the answer is often a single, very powerful trigger.
And that trigger is something incredibly human: uncertainty. Just not knowing what's going to happen next is something the anxious brain finds deeply, deeply threatening.
And we now know that just the anticipation of a potential threat is enough to kick this whole cycle into gear. Just thinking about an unknown future outcome causes the amygdala to fire up, and this leads to hypervigilance. You know, that constant draining feeling of being on edge, just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem: a hyperactive alarm, an underactive regulator, and some really bad communication between them. But understanding this dynamic isn't just about knowing what's wrong. It's about finding a path forward.
And this is the crucial point, really. Simply understanding this as a biological process, that can be incredibly empowering. It helps you reframe anxiety from something you are into something your brain is doing.
Look, if you take just one thing away from our explainer today, let it be this: anxiety is not a character flaw. It's not a weakness. It is a specific, understandable neurobiological pattern. It's a simple formula,
an overactive threat detector, an underactive regulator, and a communication problem between them. That's it.
And here's the most hopeful part. These insights are exactly what guide effective therapies. The entire goal is to restore the balance, to learn how to quiet the alarm, and how to strengthen the voice of reason. And understanding this circuit is the first, most critical step on that entire path.
And that leaves us with a final thought. Our brains are incredibly plastic. They're designed to learn and adapt. So if your brain circuits can learn the patterns of anxiety, doesn't it stand to reason that they can also be trained to learn the patterns of calm?